what happened in the Super Bowl is that he tried to include us into his movement. And now that became a problem because Argentines are okay with that music and kind of like it and will listen to it in like clubs, for example, although less and less nowadays. But the last 20 years, I'd say, yeah. And even more, maybe. But we do not identify with what basically is kind of a Caribbean culture.
Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you.
Welcome to the party, pal. This is Fountainhead Forum 428, and this is also the 107th edition of the Javier Milei Show. Every once in a while, it's my favorite people are always people who have lived in and experienced both countries. I'm talking to Luca Burton today. Luca is actually in New Hampshire right now, but he's going to go back to Argentina pretty soon. And he even said he knows Spanish better than English, but he definitely seems like he's American too. So I guess he's able to put on both faces at the same time. How are you, Luca?
I'm doing great, Chris. I've been here in New Hampshire for 3 weeks now. Well, I'm on the show because and I know that I'm very close to the ideas of Malay and have liked them since the beginning. I am a libertarian, have been a libertarian since before Malay came to the scene, and I was lucky enough for him to come in and bring my ideas up to the main stage. In Argentina, it was just not a thing at all. I was the only libertarian I knew at that point. Maybe if I looked around, I could have found others, but it was very uncommon, and no one even understood the concept. And I'm in New Hampshire with my dad, and I mean, there's a lot of libertarian and freedom-minded things over here that are very, very interesting. So I'm lucky enough to basically see both sides and understand a bit what the American perspective is on it and what the new Argentine perspective brings to that old American libertarian, freedom-minded country idea.
And you left you're left this summer to visit the winter. Yes. So
I do have that weird thing where I enjoy winter more than the summer for some reason.
wow.
I like the skiing. I like the snow. I don't like winter if there's no snow, but I do love winter if there is snow. So yeah.
They've got some amazing mountains there. So Lucas, you were born in Argentina, is that right?
Born and raised. Yep. I've lived there my whole life. Just visit. I've come and visit here very, very often.
But your dad is now back in the USA, and he's
Yes.
Then you said he married an Argentine wife. So you've also got you also got Argentine citizenship by birth and apparently American citizenship by your father. So
That's right. That's right.
and
Yes.
so that was pretty easy to get, or how'd that work out for you?
It was, simple. Birth certificate connected to him, and that was it. I mean, I never had an issue with it. I've been an American since I was a baby. So
Yeah.
since I was born. My dad directly did it, and it wasn't difficult at all. I feel excluded from that whole issue now. I don't feel like it's something I have to worry about unless, I've started hearing people saying that we should start excluding people that are American that haven't been born in America. I obviously don't agree with that from my position, but that's the only thing that's kind of gotten to me. But it doesn't seem like a strong position yet.
That's what's starting to worry me, that the war on immigrants, which is currently happening in America, is also going to be a war on dual citizenships. It's going to be a war on people who want to leave. And I always tell people, if you have easy access to a second citizenship, get it. But lots of people don't. This is not legal advice. This is not immigration advice. This is not financial advice. This is not tax advice. So, uh, so you were born. I guess you'd have been born around 2000.
2003. 2003. Yep. Yep.
An interesting perspective here is you've never known any America before the World Trade Center, or
I have not.
and you've never known before Columbine either. Just two things that were.
No.
So anyway, you've lived your life at Argentina, and you seem to wanna stay there now. When did you first, hear about Javier Milei? When did you first learn about Javier Milei?
So I was a libertarian. Interesting. Back then, I was following Ben Shapiro. That was a long time ago, um, and things have changed a lot. And out of nowhere, um, this guy comes on TV and starts just getting tons of rating. And these shows where they did debates basically, and a lot of politics, but other stuff as well. And he would get on, and it was this big table, round table of a bunch of people that would just debate each other. And he would come in and go crazy and start yelling and start. And we were watching him with my mom, and it was at that point kind of a joke. And it was funny, and we were having fun with it. But I was listening to him, and I didn't take him as a joke because I believed those ideas. Everyone else did because those ideas were crazy, and he was kind of crazy. That's the first time I get to know about him. Then I start listening to him almost religiously when I was a kid because obviously it was like something that came from the sky. Libertarianism did not exist in Argentina at all. I felt kind of alone with it. And out of nowhere, this politician comes in and talks about the same things that I care about. And I was like, wow, that's great. And then the first time I meet him is when I there was a protest in the center of the city against Alberto Fernandez's government, and I was going there, and I went there, and I knew he was coming as well to that protest, and out of nowhere, um, these people, flat earthers, advocators for flat Earth, come out with their signs and appear everywhere, and just put themselves in front of the cameras. And so Malay decided not to go to that protest because of that, because they were going to obviously connect them to that. But I saw this big parade of people walking with huge Gadsden flags, yellow Gadsden flags on them, all walking together. And I was like, that's got to be my people, right? So I get close and I talk to them. I'm like, I came here to see Malaya. I can't believe what happened. And they're like, come over, come over. And I followed them. They took me around the block, and he was there waiting for us to say hi to everyone. And I got to meet him, took a picture with him. It was great. And then from there, a lot of stuff has happened. Yeah.
So when did you discover him, and when did you meet him?
I discovered him, I believe, I think it was like 2019 or
Okay.
2018. In the beginning, I mean, as soon as he appeared, I was there. I think it was 2018.
And then
Like 2020, I think. I mean, I met him.
was this coronavirus protests?
Probably.
Coronavirus policy
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Milei, this is this real? Do you think this is really what drove Milei to his heights? Uh,
Yes.
speaking out
Him
against it?
and hmm?
Yeah, speaking out against this stuff, yeah.
Yes. This, especially it's what I think it's what gave him the reasons to apply his ideas. I think that's it gave him a justification with the people to say libertarianism matters. It's not just a crazy ideology. Look at what the government is doing to you. Look
Yeah,
how crazy this is. We had one of the worst lockdowns in the world on paper. Then, I mean, enforcement in Argentina is usually not very strong. So we had harsh policies, low enforcement. Um, but anyways, it was very harsh at that point, and it was enforced at that point. And I think that's when he could come out and say, look at what the government is doing to you. And you're telling me I'm crazy. Don't you see that they're actually doing it?
yeah,
That the government is actually pushing down on you, locking you down in your house. And you think the government doesn't want to overreach its powers. And you think that the government is working in your favor. You think they can? Look at them. It's
yeah.
obvious that they can't. And I think that kind of gave them something to step on and push. But then I think it's his character that got him on on TV and that got him popular. It's him. The ideas are just good ideas. So he made himself popular with his personality, and then I think people just hooked onto the ideas because to me they're just very simple and obvious ideas that you can easily hook into. And no one likes the government in general. Um, so that's kind of how I see the reason that the coronavirus connected to his rise.
Yeah, that's what I've been wondering. I'd love to get a chart, if anybody could get a chart that just shows how his Twitter followers have went up, and see where there were some spikes. Because this was So how much have you paid? You've obviously paid attention to what's going on with Argentina. How much have you paid attention to American politics and the
I pay
American
a
movement?
fair amount of attention. I pay a fair amount of attention. Yeah, 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 yeah. I It's different. It's a different movement. I think in terms of narratives, it is pretty similar in terms of technique in politics and campaign wise. I think it's pretty similar. I think they both understood the social media aspect of it. I think a lot of parties in the world um, were stuck to a certain way of doing things in mainstream media and did not understand the change of narrative and the change of techniques of communication that they had to
Yeah.
do in social media and how you need to be more genuine because if not, it just does not work. And Malay came in and broke that. Was the first one and only one that understood it for I think up to now, there might be one or two political pundits on other sides that are starting to understand it, but he still is ahead in terms of that. They do not know how to fight him in social media because he's just the people he has around him and his main
Yeah.
political campaigners understand how to do it, and the other parties are just stuck.
Yeah, Grok says in mid 2019 he had around 115,000 Twitter followers, and then in 2020 was 100,000 to 300,000. There's not really that sure, but it's just interesting to look this up. I just wondered how his popularity. I mean, I don't know the American Liberty Movement is kind of in a shambles right now, so that's why I'm got more interested in me, like because there's so many things we need to learn from. I mean, what do you think really? Uh, what do you think really gets his appeal? It sounds like first of all he's really gotten the voters under 30 and even teenagers, and even I even see, and it looks like he's even very popular with even kids. I mean, like I see 10-year-old boys about they're seeing a car and they say Milei, Milei. It's what can you tell us about that?
Well, I think some difficulty libertarianism in general just will have and has here in America and probably had in Argentina when it existed is that obviously it's a movement that does not want to touch power. Ideally, the ideal of a libertarian is to not wield power and not force anything on anyone. So the problem is that our current situation forces us to wield power. Here in New Hampshire, they're starting to understand that definitely. But I think what the way Milei had such a big step so fast is that he decided, okay, I'm going to make the concessions I have to make to push this ideology. Or way of thinking. And he said, I'm going to be a politician. He obviously didn't say that in words, but and to me, in terms of what he did, that's what he kind of did. I'm going to turn into a politician. I'm going to not be, not make my actions be completely libertarian minded every single time, as long as I'm pushing towards that side. It doesn't always have to be 100% libertarian. It doesn't always have to be big L libertarian. I do have to have my section of people that are very, very libertarian and my think tank of people that are extremely libertarian. But at the same time, I have to go in and play politics. And right now in this world, there's a demand for charismatic leaders. And that's what he was. He understood that that demand was there. So I'm going to play politics and I'm going to be a charismatic leader. And first terms, it's not a very libertarian thing to have a charismatic leader that kind of pushes the mass around, which is kind of what he does, which is great to me. It's a good thing. It's not a very libertarian thing at its core, but at the same time, his whole idea is to be libertarian, and he's showing in government that that's the way he's turning things. So I think that's the big step that he made. That libertarians in New Hampshire, I've seen it. It's getting really good, but I still feel like libertarians could have a big charismatic leader. I saw it with Vivek, maybe to some extent, but it doesn't seem like he went all the way libertarian 100%.
Yeah,
I don't know. You probably know more than I do about that.
Vivek has some of those qualities. He's still Vivek has some of those qualities. He's still a little bit of a nerd though, but he definitely gets out. I think Vivek likes people. He likes to go out there and get to talk to people. He gets out there and he definitely paints a good picture. I think he's you know, I mean, I don't think Vivek was ever the lead singer of Rolling Stone cover band, which I think is really a huge factor in all this. I mean, I don't, and of course Vivek was valedictorian. I always say if you want to see Vivek, a good look up Vivek's valedictorian speech is actually on the web, and you can see him graduating high school. And this, is obviously genuine. He's not running for office. He's really just being himself. That's a good speech. But I don't know. I mean, as I like to say, Javier Milei has game. If
Yes.
you know what I mean by having game. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
being whether
Yes.
being smooth, being suave, or just being
Yeah, I mean, I think he has game and the people around them have game.
yeah,
I think since he isn't such a libertarian, he doesn't like doing the politics. He knows that he has to do it. Um, but he has people around him that I think like it a little bit more, so are more knowledgeable about him and about that, and that balances him a little bit, which is good. Um, and I think that he also opened up the field for people that follow him uh, to have space to operate politically. Because he didn't restrict and say, if you break this libertarian ideal, then you're out, or if you break this libertarian ideal, you're out. I mean, obviously, if you're in a position of increasing or decreasing taxes and you increase taxes like crazy, okay. But usually, most people are not in that position yet. Um, and I don't think I think a lot of movements that may have not started as very libertarian saw him as a beacon of just prosperous Argentina, just prosperous Argentina. And since he wasn't strict on it, on just the libertarian idea, strict, um, a lot of movements started just anchoring onto him and helping him push up. I think that was very important. And also that he can easily maneuver politics because he's like not on the Republican or on the Democrat side in terms of Argentina. Like that's in terms of American politics, but I mean that in Argentina. He's not on the Peronist or the pro side, which used to be like, at least during my lifetime, the two parties that clashed were those two. And he decided, no, I'm not going to be either of those. Um, I'm just going to do my own thing. And that was very risky in terms of politics, but it ended up giving him an amount of freedom of movement in terms of narrative and in terms of managing the government that I think he wouldn't have had if he actually took a position and said, I'm going to ally myself with this party.
yeah. I want to say though that I'm not really talking about playing talk. I'm talking about the fact that Javier Milei knows how to make people like him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's not about wielding power. It's just about making people want to vote for you, making people want to see you, making people want to work with you. It's remarkable seeing what he's done, and he and every time so many times he gives a speech, he goes on and just starts thanking all his people. It's like a basketball coach or a soccer coach, and just going on and on about all the players on his team. It's
Yes. Yes. And I think that that comes from him actually being genuine.
yeah,
Um, I don't know. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not in there. I don't know what is going on behind the scenes and if everything he says is true or not. I the evidence tells me that he keeps his promises in a great manner. Not every single detail because he's a president. He's not my dad. He has a lot of other people to that influence him and stuff. It's not a simple position. So I get that he can't just keep every single promise he makes. But I think he's kept some of the bigger ones, and that's what matters. And I think that him feeling genuine and him coming out and thanking people just because he's grateful, and he's doing it because he's grateful. He might be quirky a lot of times and do things that maybe some other people would consider as weird, but it's him. It's him. I'm looking at him, and it's not this politician that's been crafted by hand perfectly by an organization that sells images of politicians, that creates images for as a job, basically. it's not a professionally created image of a politician anymore. Well, it started turning a little bit more into that, but I think they've really focused on keeping him genuine and keeping him being himself, yelling, saying what he feels. If someone disrespects him, he's all over them and doesn't back up. That's another big thing. I feel with young people is that a lot of us, I think, felt like we couldn't, especially with the whole left wing revolution the last 20 years. We felt like we couldn't say a lot of things. We were we felt silenced a lot of time, and seeing someone like him coming out and directly breaking everything and giving us the opportunity to do that, I think really brought a lot of young, especially men, because in the beginning it was a lot of men, then a lot of women also joined, and now it's kind of half and half. But in the beginning it was a lot of men. Is like we can finally say what we think. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Well, I think it seems like to me he's, one guy pointed out, said there's always women around this guy. Wow, it's somebody like I don't know if we want to get into this, but somebody like Fatima Flores. I don't know if you've seen some of his other romances he's had in his life, but that certainly says something about the personal qualities of this guy. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. It's a very interesting, way of doing it. Usually you just see a president getting married and that would be it. And he would have a woman that sure is influential and, has, power in her own way from the first lady perspective, but is kinda thrown to the side and not shown like he does. He's like kinda main stage, let's break all the rules. Let's make this be shown everywhere in the world. We want everyone to see this. We want to make sure that we attract attention, which, sure, some people would say that's bad. I think it's great. I think it's been great for Argentina to attract that amount of attention. And you
yeah.
can call us attention seekers, but it's worked. So that's what matters.
I don't know. He just is attractive. I'm just trying to, but but it is a contrast, for example, to Jose Cost, who's got 9 kids.
Yeah.
9 kids, yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
and I assume
And it's great. Yeah.
Milei will be going to his inauguration, since
No, and it's great that he has 9 kids, and I think that that is a really good thing. I would want everyone to have as many kids as possible. But I mean, his personality is just boring compared to Malay's. It's just boring. No,
yeah,
will not attract the amount of attention that Malay does. It just won't.
that's the thing. We're not going to be boring. I think there's always been a certain amount of showmanship in politics, and Milei understands that. And he learned how to be a showman because being a lead singer of a Rolling Stone cover band. It's I mean, we're now also hearing that Mick Jagger wants to meet him. I
Yes.
so and Mick is old, but it's a and goodness knows we could talk about Mick's history with his girlfriends and whatever. It's
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It feels like kind of a 90s revival kind of thing, you know? Not just in Argentina, although it is.
yeah,
I'm starting to see that in the US as well with like how Trump conducts himself and just Americans in general nowadays are going back to that idea of we're gonna live the life and we're gonna be elite. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's kind of the feeling that they're giving, and it's gonna be show off, and it's gonna be uh, I think they would define it as sexy. I don't know, but it's interesting. It's a big. I like it better than the furry stage of the world. That's
yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
Is there anybody in particular that Milei reminds you of? I mean,
someone that I didn't get the question.
does Milei remind you of anybody in particular? I mean, I've sometimes said Johnny Cash or John Bon Jovi or maybe Elvis, but
Um, I don't know. I do feel like he's pretty unique, and I think that was one of the things that I liked about them the most. You could, yeah, definitely compare him more to, in terms of personality and charisma, compare him more to singers and rock band
yeah,
people in rock bands, and I feel even like people in sports. Some of the ones that have more personality in them, especially older ones. Um, and he doesn't look like a politician. He looks more like a rock star. And I think that some people hate it in Argentina. Usually opposition, obviously, they think it's humiliating. I think that they just don't get where the world is going. They don't understand it, and we have a phrase in Argentina which is called they don't see it, and every time they make a comment like this, like he's humiliating, we just go no la ven, no la ven. They don't see it, so it's kind of an idea of they have no idea what they're talking about. They don't see what the world that's coming, and it's just kind of just don't even listen to them. They don't understand the world. And that's, yeah, I mean, I think that's been the biggest revolution he started, is that just showing the world that we are in for a real change at this point in terms of personality of the world, charisma.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I also it's from what I hear also that Lionel Messi is a big fan, and that's probably the best endorsement he could probably get.
Yeah, it was not an easy one to get. Lionel Messi usually is very careful, so that the fact that he did it is huge.
Well, I knew Messi wasn't very fond of the Kirchners, so but then he comes out, yeah, because athletes getting into politics, you're always risking alienating part of your fan base, but and he's personally benefited from it, and I think these guys both love their countries, and of course, Milei was also a goalie himself, so
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, but Messi has always been, with Kirchner, he didn't come out and say anything against her. He was just when they won a tournament, they had to come back. She wanted to meet with them, and they said, "No, I'm not going to meet with you," and that's fine, and that's okay. Don't take it as anything. I'm just not going to meet with you. But yeah,
Yeah.
Messi's always been like that. Kind of doesn't want to get into it, and I think that's great. I mean, that's this big reason why he's where he is right now.
Oh, yeah. Well,
In
he's
terms of
about ready to retire, right? I mean, he's in goodness knows he's probably got plenty of money, but
yeah, yeah, definitely. He's, I think, now more than anything turning into the main representatives of soccer in the world. Although he's not very strong with any opinions or anything, when he has an opinion, everyone listens. And I think that's why there's such a push from America to have him in America and to have Argentine players in America playing in the league and stuff. Because in the end, obviously, America right now is having a big push to bring all of world culture inside of it and be the leader of the world. I mean, because right now we're just seeing that worldwide conflict starting to really uh, start, and I think America's taken advantage of the connection they have with Argentina and bringing Messi in and trying to bring soccer to the U.S. and make it center stage here instead of Europe. We'll see how it works.
there have been so many people doing this for so long, so I don't know if it will ever work. I mean, David
Yeah, I
Beckham
know.
and other things. I don't know. I don't know the first thing I always tell people is that why Americans really don't like soccer is number one, Americans hate ties. They absolutely positively hate ties. They will not accept any game that ever can end in a tie, or at least regularly ends in a tie. You know, the Japanese will stop a baseball game in 15 innings. Not Americans. They will. There is no theoretically there is no end to a baseball game. I mean, there
Yes.
was, and 45 years ago there was that famous 33 inning game, minor league game, but they played until somebody won the game.
Mhm.
Could be other reasons, but I think that's a big one. It's soccer. And soccer, part of the reason why I know soccer is so big is it's very easy to play. I mean, all you need is a ball, and you need the ball in the empty grass field. There you go. It's
I think that's one of the biggest reasons why it's so popular. Yeah, yeah.
Luca. I often tease people about I know Milei is very popular with Venezuelan migrants and
Mhm.
the Venezuelan migrants too. But I also like to tell you guys that and I've said it so many times on the show that the Venezuelans are going to turn you into a baseball country.
Oh, we're wary of that. Believe me,
Yeah,
we're very wary of that, especially with the
Chile and
thing that
Peru as
happened
well.
with Yeah, yeah, especially with what happened with, Bad Bunny
Uh,
and the Super Bowl halftime show.
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
The
well,
the
I
whole
didn't see what yeah, that's a good question. What is the general impression of Bad Bunny in South America? It sounds like they don't really have any interest in him at all.
well, South America has different opinions depending on who you ask. I can talk for
Oh,
Argentina. I think in Argentina, in general, he's pretty much liked just because his music in Spanish is by far the most popular, and now in English as well. I think he's the most listened to artist in the world. And so I think in general, no one really had a problem. There's a lot of people that just don't like that type of Latin American music in Argentina that don't like that music, but they don't specifically don't like him. Now, what happened in the Super Bowl is that he tried to include us into his movement. And now that became a problem because Argentines are okay with that music and kind of like it and will listen to it in like clubs, for example, although less and less nowadays, but the last 20 years, I'd say, yeah. Um, and even more maybe. But we do not identify with what basically is kind of a Caribbean culture. Kind of this,
yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but we don't identify with the type of music that is so, I don't know, the rhythm is not very it's not a nice rhythm. It's just a very danceable rhythm, if you want. It's a rhythm that'll get into your head and make your head move. A lot of stimulation, maybe. But it's not a rhythm that is like so that I don't know. If you listen to classical music, that would be the extreme example of something that's beautiful in terms of just the music itself. I don't think Caribbean music aims to do that. I think it just aims for people to have fun and dancing, and I don't think Argentines identify with that just because it feels like it takes us away from a lot of our roots, which are mostly European. Although it's
Yeah.
not 100%, and we're not by no means have we ever had a race problem in Argentina. We've mixed really well with the Native Americans, the native Argentines that were there before. There was one problem like 200 years ago where we did have a war against them, but it was in the beginning. Not ever since, it has not happened, but we still don't identify with the Caribbean culture. We identify with a more, I mean, our main artists, most important artists are people that produce tango. That's number one. Those are our main cultural identifiers in terms of music. And then rock. We have rock artists that are Argentine. They're not known worldwide, but they are our identity in terms of music. If you ask people in Argentina what's the most important Argentine music, they'll talk about these two things. Mostly, I might be forgetting something else, but those are the two main things. There are some folk musics around the provinces that exist and that are important, but they're not the base of the country. Definitely not. So as soon as this Bad Bunny thing came and he showed our flag as if we were part of his movement, there was a big backlash, especially on social media, from Argentines saying we're not that, and with a bunch of memes that you probably know are probably not appropriate for like a show and stuff. But that did happen, and because we just don't identify with that, and I think that would happen as well in Uruguay. That would happen as well in some parts of Brazil, some parts of Chile as well. And connecting that to the Venezuelans, that we know that, and we don't want them to influence our culture. If they want to come in, we are very welcoming. We are a very welcoming country in terms of bringing people in, but you have to integrate. We don't like people that don't integrate into the culture. And our culture is great, and people usually love our culture. So it's not usually not difficult, but we also don't like it when they don't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I always yeah, I mean, I always, make every effort to speak Spanish when I go to these places. So, that is telling though, because Argentina almost does seem like it's more European than anything else in Latin America. I mean, Buenos Aires looks a lot more like Madrid than it looks like Mexico City or
Yes.
Bogota. I mean,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah. And that's a key in Argentina. In Argentina, that's what differentiates us from Latin America. And with this Bad Bunny thing, discussions arise around old discussions that we've already had, but now it got popular of whether we identify as Latin Americans or not. And a lot of people say that we don't. I don't identify as Latin American. Of course, I have American influence, like U.S. influence, so it's different in my case. But I have a lot of friends, and I know a lot of people that don't identify as Latin American because the idea of Latin American is Bad Bunny, and we are not Bad Bunny. So I think we identify as, there's two main identifiers I've seen on the other side. It's just Argentines that are just Europeans that came here. It's kind of almost a parallel American identity, just instead of it being Britain is Spain. But we identify as something separate from the native Argentines, if you want. And the other one is Southern Cone. A lot of people are starting to talk about Southern Cone because that includes, like I said, Chile, it includes Uruguay, it includes the south of Brazil, that has kind of the same issue. So that's kind of the situation right now with that topic, and it's getting pretty heated right now. And something very interesting. Do you know Patricia Bullrich?
Yeah, I definitely do.
Leader.
What
Yes.
about her?
So when the Maduro thing happened, a lot of Venezuelans got together in the center of Argentina, of the Buenos Aires capital, at the Obelisco, and to party and to celebrate that Maduro was finally captured, because obviously all these people that came to Argentina are escaping Maduro, so they're very happy that the U.S. did this. And Patricia Bullrich went there and stood up in front of them and congratulated them, was happy for them, etc. And one of the things she told them was, now it's time to go back. It's a good time for you guys to go back and reconstruct your country, which is, obviously, it sounds like, hey, are you kicking me out? And it's like, you can stay if you want, but we're not going to be your Venezuela here. If you stay here, you're Argentine. If not, you can now go back to your country, and your country is going to do a lot better now. So that's like a political invitation to do it from a high ranked politician. So that's not just talks on Twitter anymore. It's actually something real. You know what I mean? And just the border legislation is getting stricter and stricter in Argentina anyways. So there's a clear push towards that.
Yeah, well, certainly if I don't, it doesn't mean they want to go back, because they could just be celebrating, oh, my cousin's going to get out of jail or something like that. Because we know, I know people who were, I know people who know Maria Correa Machado, so it's definitely been interesting watching all that. It's been horrible.
What do you know about that? Now I'm interested.
Well, I know people who were actually hiding out in the Argentine embassy for over a year to avoid getting arrested. I know another woman who got arrested. And she just recently got well, I don't know her, but I know people who know her who got arrested by the Maduro government. And I don't know what they're doing with these people. They're torturing them, whatever. So
Mhm.
yeah, but hopefully there is somebody to rebuild the country. But it's often
I
hard.
hope they have the resources. They have the resources. That's for sure. They can do it. It's a question of if the population actually wants it or not at this point. Um, I don't know. And it's also a geopolitical. Yeah.
One thing that unfortunately happens in a lot of resource-rich countries, and especially the oil, is the government takes over the oil, and then they just use that to give free stuff to all the people, and that's why the people vote for it, because it's and then you don't have it, and your economy isn't based on anything else. It really, free stuff just undermines everything, and I don't.
Yeah, that's what, to a certain extent, what happened in Argentina with our agricultural production. It was funny. We were talking with Shellbanger about this yesterday.
Yep.
That it's one of the only countries where you have an export tax, because there's so much money to be made from agriculture that they want to redistribute it, and so they put a tax on the agricultural exports to be able to finance all these plans and stuff. Obviously now with Milei, it's starting to go down gradually, but it's that tax is a huge part of the Argentine government's finance balance. So they can't take it down right now. They've tried to, and did it to a certain extent, but they can't do it for now. But because um, we would go broke, obviously, and they've used that for I don't know how many years to give free stuff and to maintain policies that are not efficient. You know?
Well, I don't know that. Yeah, I never heard of an export tax. But for me, I think the worst thing about an export tax is they would just, in most cases, I figure they just wouldn't bother trying to send the stuff out. They just say the heck with it. Okay, well, if I don't send it out, I won't pay this stuff. So you're basically punishing for people for being productive. So they just say, I'll be less productive. I'll make enough I'll make enough widgets to sell it in the country, and I could make extra widgets, but I'm not going to. So
Yeah, or it's maybe it's not even a will thing, just to not put it on the farmers. It's more of a I can't. It
well,
just
I,
that
well, I
doesn't make
mean, that
sense.
could be food. It could be lots of things. Manufacturing. May think,
Mhm.
I've often pointed out on this show too. There's no. I'm still a little surprised that South America does not have a car company. There's no. I mean, they obviously have plants from the other companies, but there's no car company based in South America, in spite of there being so many people there. And maybe this is
Yeah,
something that will change. Yeah.
yeah,
It sounds,
yeah, yeah.
sounds like Elon Musk definitely wants to come down there and do more things. But yes,
I think American politics right now, and I say American politics to not single someone out because it feels like everyone's kind of doing it. There, there, there is definitely a plan to, let's say, conquer in soft terms the rest of America and
yeah,
make sure that we're all very aligned with U.S. interests. Obviously we're seeing a regime change in general, just going from a pure republic to a more kind of wield power and less freedom scheme in the US. It kind of feels like it's turning into an empire almost. And I think part of that is saying, okay, now this territory that is connected to America, which obviously geopolitically it's very, very important, that's going to be pure America. It's not going to doubt. And if it doubts, we're going to go in and we're going to neutralize it automatically. There's not going to be much of a negotiation uh, anymore. And and Malay has benefited tons from that by just being really close to America. I obviously love it. Um, and I want the Argentina and the US to be very close, especially because the other option is China. And I don't think there's a way out of it at this point, anyways.
yeah, I don't want. Yeah, China's. I don't want it to be China either. And China's also creating a lot of problems. I've heard, for example, that China has actually been fishing in a lot of the waters of South American countries. So, or at least they're getting close to those waters, and those are technically
Yeah,
unfettered.
it's
Yeah, maybe
uh,
that's why Milei's been building up the military a little bit. He wants to tell
yeah,
China to get the hell out of their waters.
yeah. It's been a huge issue in Argentina for sure, and the rest of Latin America. Um, because just Chinese boats take advantage of international waters
Yeah,
basically they start fishing on the line between the international water and national water, and they get pretty sneaky and start getting close and cross it and
yeah,
fish inside our waters or endanger species that are moving from our waters to international waters, which is also illegal internationally. Um, and and I think that's a topic that angers Argentines a lot.
yeah,
But also, I mean, at this point, we can't defend ourselves really well. So you're right that building up the military will help with that. But at the same time, it's an issue that is very, very hard to resolve just because of the vastness of the sea and because of how small that line is and how easy it is for Chinese boats to just move in and out. But it's definitely something that Argentines want resolved, and that I don't think
yeah.
anyone agrees with Chinese boats fishing in our waters. And I think it's been a good argument to rebuild our military from a defensive standpoint more than anything.
Yeah, well, and it's not just Argentina, it's Peru, it's other countries too, but, yeah, not that's actually I have to admit, maybe it's because I didn't pick very good places, or maybe it's because the meat was always undercooked, but I wasn't that impressed by the meat down there, but I did go to one place and had some really good fish. So, 'cause
Where? Where were
you
you?
know
Is
you know
this in
how
Argentina?
I'm yeah, in Buenos Aires, and I
Interesting.
figure I figure a country that has this much coastline's got to have some seafood, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I just went to the supermarket and noticed that we are selling that they're selling fish from Argentina. Sorry, not fish, shrimp from Argentina. And we don't even consume shrimp in Argentina much at all. It's not a common thing at all. I didn't even know we exported it, and it's here in a New Hampshire supermarket. It's like, okay,
Y
I
you
like
know
that.
it's funny, the thing I miss most about leaving America now is iced tea is almost solely an American thing.
Yes.
You really can't get it anywhere else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been having iced tea since I've been here. Every time I come, I try to eat as much American food as I can, just to because I love it and I don't get it down there. And iced tea has been one of those
Yeah,
things.
and iced tea is just so much better than pop, especially if you go unsweetened. It's just everything else is just a chemical makeup. Tea has
You
been
drink
around
it unsweetened?
yeah, unsweetened tea. Well, I put stevia in it, but I don't make sure all of the sweeteners and stuff like that are just poison. Yeah, yeah. What else do you come here to get when you come back to America? When you say American food,
Yeah. Well, if I'm going to Chicago, I'm getting Chicago style pizza. Um, I am getting chili. I love chili. I am getting well, ribs. Ribs are huge. What else? I am getting mac and cheese. Mac and cheese to me is one of the things that I know it's terrible and it's horrible for me and whatever you want, but when I come here, I want to have it just because it's impossible to get outside of the US, it seems like, and such a something I love so much. What else? Yeah, there's a ton of things. Well, the fast food chains. I'm not a huge fast food person, but
yeah,
I do get treat myself once in a while, and it just the fast food chains here are obviously great. Like the Chick-fil-A's and your basics that I just can't get there, so I go over and have to have it at least once. Um,
Chick-fil-A.
and yeah. There's all kinds of stuff. I try to not eat stuff that I would eat at home in Argentina.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I can
Yeah,
see that. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
didn't think much about Chile. Chile, but also, in Texas, you can actually get barbecued turkey, which is great. I don't know if they. I guess they don't really have turkeys at all down there, so they wouldn't have turkey be eating turkey. So
No, 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 no. That's also something I only get here. Turkey.
yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely be missing turkey. Yeah, turkey is the
Do you like turkey better than chicken?
oh yes,
Is that? Yeah, yeah. Why is it like? Does it have more flavors through its fat, or
yeah, it has more flavor. Yeah, yeah. There are differences, but I have to admit they're fairly close. Yeah, chicken is yeah. There's no Chick-fil-A. It's unfortunately there is McDonald's down there, but it's
where do you go in Argentina to eat your meat? I'm very surprised. It's the first time I've heard this
I don't
about
remember. They're just
Argentina.
places people recommended me. So, and I think part of the problem is that they were both undercooked. But uh,
Undercooked.
yeah,
Interesting. Usually it's
I
the other way around.
I went to a German place. So but certainly we found interesting food all around. And then of course there is Starbucks in Argentina as well. So yeah, now I did go to Ushuaia last time I was there. Now there's a place where I mean it's all local stuff.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
McDonald's does not get down to a place like that. It's not even McDonald's. It's
Interesting. Very
yeah.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. That's something I'm missing. It's starting to one of the things of the American culture that is starting to seep into Argentina lately that I don't like is that it feels like stuff in America now is all of it is almost yeah, almost all of it is corporate, including food, including
Oh yeah.
anything from yeah, I don't know what else, but it seems like there's less and less local businesses that sell local stuff or stuff that is artisanal. Everything seems to come from a factory, and Argentina has not been like that, but it feels like it's starting to seep into Argentina, and it's getting more and more corporate. And I'm kind of worried about that just because I
Yeah.
love my local stuff and artisanal stuff.
Well, and also I worry about because Americans are getting less and less healthy, and it's largely because of what they eat. I mean, I did a show a little while ago with a really good lady who runs farms, and regulations and all kinds of stuff. And she talked about raw milk, and you really very difficult to get raw milk. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
probably
milk is well,
food is so much controlled by lobbyists and all that stuff. And she said, and of course she talked about here in meat, it's the big four, and they're all the packing companies, for meat
it's the
packers.
packing companies. Is that what it is?
Yeah, food is very politicized. And of course, when anything else gets politicized, it just gets destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it
mean,
gets destroyed. Mhm.
in Mexico, for example, you might see a case, where the fisherman goes out for a day, comes back to the restaurant and says, "Hey, you need some fish for tomorrow?" And the restaurant says, "Sure," just like that. No middleman, done. But you won't
Mhm.
see that happen in America. It's not like that because everything's got to be, regulated. Therefore, it centralizes. I mean, for so long, we didn't eat food that was more than 25 miles away from us, and that's probably a stretch.
Mhm. Yeah, and there's something about everything being so profit driven, that just especially when profit is really put there as a god almost, it feels like, and so there's nothing that supersedes it. So at that point, they will not care about, uh, about your health or anyone's health as long as they can convince you that it's not that bad for you or that you'll eat it even thinking that it's bad for you. As long as they can convince you, they'll do it just because what matters is profits and nothing else. And and you don't really matter as a person. If you informed yourself better, you'd know not to eat this. So if you're buying it, it's your fault, not mine. And I don't know, that's a cultural thing that I'm seeing here a lot, that scares me, especially since the U.S. and I include myself in the U.S. Is having such a big influence culturally in Argentina right now, and I hope that part of the culture doesn't seep in because in Argentina we do not have that. There's a lot more of if the society knows that you're contaminating people, that you're doing wrong to people, society is it's very angry. Where we really like to personally take care of everyone else in our society, which I feel like America at this point is almost that feeling is almost dead outside of some communities. I've seen it in New Hampshire, for example. I've seen it here. Some communities that do take care of each
Yeah,
other, but now it's all just okay. Who can take more advantage of the other person in America?
it's
And
real
that's
side. Yeah.
mm,
Luca, the other thing too, and I really, so many people around the world still look at America as this perfect country, and I guess I get angry because I just get so sick and tired of it. But and I repeat this, and I know I sound like a broken record on a lot of these things, but I've told people American life expectancy has been going down since 2014, and I think that's probably in part due to maybe the food, but also a lot of overdose deaths and things like that. Uh, there's a lot of places in America where people are just losing hope. And I still see, and I still see that somewhat too. And that's why I brought you on here is because for anybody who's thinking about going to Argentina, you can really show us the differences, and it's just it's amazing to see both of them. I mean, you said
yeah,
you did,
it's
yeah, you said you
uh,
did have a brother or half brother, I think.
I have a half brother that lives here in the U.S. Yeah, with my dad.
What does he ever think about coming down there? Or?
He thought about it, but he's coming out of high school, and I think he's starting to think about college. And in terms of college, America is in a more privileged position. I don't know about the actual things they teach, but I mean, in the end, he's looking out for what
Yeah,
image he can create for himself, especially at that age where you haven't really done anything yet. So it feels
if
like
anything,
college
it's
really,
a good time to learn both languages. If you haven't already. But
yeah,
that's
yeah, that's gonna be key. That's something that I was always surprised that Americans couldn't do. For some reason they never put emphasis in that. I mean, I understand that the whole world at this point basically speaks English, but at the same time, it really bars you from accessing other cultures and
Oh, yeah.
understanding and getting value from them, even if it's not, I'm not a guy that pushes multiculturalism. I don't think that
Well,
I
well,
don't
I don't,
care
I
about
don't,
that.
I don't know if other countries have it, but Americans have such a superior attitude toward everybody else. We're better just because we're Americans. Yeah, I don't know if other countries have that too, but there's definitely an arrogance about it. It's part of what I think fuels just such the hatred of immigrants is, well, you're not as good as we are. You don't deserve to be here. It's like all you did was be born here. It's
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I do agree with making immigration a lot more strict and with a lot of screening. Um but I can never be against immigration.
yeah,
I'm not for multiculturalism. I think America should be America, and I think if someone comes to America, they should become an American with American values and everything. Now, the same thing with Argentina, obviously. But now saying that you don't want any immigrants to come in, um, it's just not. It just doesn't work because you can't. If you want to keep being the most important country in the world, you have to be adding value from the whole world, not only what you produce in America. You need the value from other countries to come into America. That's one of the big things America did was to bring all the big brains into America, into American colleges, stay in America, and make innovation happen in America. But that was powered, obviously, in great part, because America is great and Americans are great. But also, you had people from all over the world getting together in America to do that in America, and you wouldn't have been able to achieve it without them. So I don't know. It's not like people in America want to work at this point, anyways. And people that want to come into America usually want to work. Now, I do agree with heavy screening to understand if that person that is coming in comes in from a background that we don't want. And I think America should definitely be arbitrary in terms of if we don't want this person in, don't come in. Um, but at the same time, it makes no sense to not bring anyone in at all.
well, one thing Milei did, which actually makes sense, is he said, "You're not getting free college anymore." Oh, geez. So you stop giving immigrants free stuff and they stop coming. What a novel concept.
Yes, yes, yes. That's exactly like that. There was actually a story that was one of the things that sparked this whole idea of um stopping immigrants to coming as much as they've been coming to Argentina, which was that we have free healthcare in Argentina. It's not, I don't use it, and it usually people, if they can, they don't use it because it's not great, but it's there and it helps a lot of people that can't access private healthcare. Um, and that includes any immigrants that are here or here, not here because I'm in the US, but in Argentina. If they're there, then they get access to it if they want to. And we've been always very open and really nice to them, and because we feel like it's the natural thing. Now, it had there were a couple stories. I think it was in Bolivia. I'm not 100. I think it was Bolivia or either Bolivia or Paraguay. I'm not sure. Where there was a pair of Argentines that were there, a couple, and I think one of them got really sick, and they blocked their access to healthcare there. They said, "No, you're not coming in." And when we have people from it was either Bolivia or Paraguay coming in constantly and coming into our hospitals and
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing where I'm like, I don't want to stop that. I don't want to stop giving them healthcare because I don't think it's okay to let people die on the street. But at the same time, it's like if you're gonna come here and take advantage of us and not care at all about us, and you're just gonna just not take any um gratitude from that, not get any gratitude from that, then I don't really have a choice if you're going to take advantage of me. I can't just let myself get taken advantage of. And I think that applies to America as well. And I think I mean, the whole ICE thing is okay. We can have a discussion can be had around that. If it's good or bad, I don't think it's
Yeah.
clear cut necessarily, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to stop immigrants from coming, it's what you're saying. You stop giving them good treatment. You don't let them survive here illegally. You make them want to leave because they don't have a choice from their perspective. Not because we're going to come get you, but because you're going to go into a hospital and it's not going to be easy at all for you.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you're going to go.
And hospitals that accept Medicare, which is all of them, can't turn anybody away which is something they need to be allowed to do because you end up people who just take advantage of the system. It's all so ridiculous. I mean, there are plenty of people who come here. There are plenty of immigrants who come here wouldn't work. Plenty of immigrants who come here, and just spend their own money. I mean, I knew a guy who was living in Peru and he wanted to bring his Peruvian girlfriend back to his father's funeral in the state of New York, and they wouldn't let her in. She just wanted to go to a funeral. It's just like, so there's a lot of things it's a mess, but I don't want to talk about. Uh, what else do you think has made? Have you paid much attention to American? Well, you've been in New Hampshire. Is there anybody, in your opinion, in America who even compares to Milei?
Libertarian?
Yeah.
No. No, at this point, no. The closest I saw was Vivek, like I said before.
Yeah.
But um, I think that America right now is concentrated on Trump and that whole thing. I don't think it would be a moment to have a big libertarian push, anyways, just because how messy it all is right now, and how at this point Trump is kind of wielding that sword like in a way where he would automatically come down and try to step on anyone that's trying to rise up. But I think right now with the whole Epstein thing and other stuff, I think that the whole Trump thing will start to dissipate. And when that starts to happen, and now we have kind of a vacuum, and again, we're having to choose a leader, then that might be a moment for libertarians to actually come up with someone that is charismatic and that can entice the public, and say, okay, for the first time, we're actually going to make a serious political push for libertarianism, and not this not this idea of we're going to make a political push with perfect libertarian values where we never go out of line. I mean, I get it, and I love that utopian world that we created, because I think that's what we strive to get
Yeah.
to. But I think that will be the moment where libertarians can actually show that their ideas can succeed. In New Hampshire, I do see people that are thinking that way, at least. I've spoke with a couple of representatives of the legislature. I was there for a session for the state of the state, and at lunch I spoke with a couple of representatives, and I do feel like they're finally obviously New Hampshire is a small state, and they're not doing it at a scale that you would say this is America. It's more of a scale of New Hampshire is doing it. The live free or die state is being live free or die, basically, and it's finally pushing that way in a strong way. Now, the people that are in that government, that are in that legislature, they are thinking politically. They are thinking of, okay, we have to make these concessions to push the ideas. So I think it's a good place to start. But I also don't know what the situation. You're in Austin, right? Texas.
Yes.
So what's the situation over there? Is there a political move at all for libertarianism that's
Uh,
growing?
no, I think Texas will become California in 20 or 30 years.
Mm.
Uh, they've already moved here a lot, and I don't know if maybe they'll be smart enough not to vote for the same things, but it's hard to say. I mean, the there are a handful of good people that you'd call free staters, but there aren't very many of them. The state legislature. I mean, the thing about it, you saw the New Hampshire state legislature. I mean, every legislator in that house represents less than 400 people. You have New Hampshire also has the executive council. Uh, Getting elected to the state house in Texas. I mean, one state representative represents at least 200,000. I mean, it's not all that much different from running for Congress really anymore. It's
Right.
there's so I don't know where I
Not
don't
in
think
Texas. So
I'm
definitely
not
not
that
in Texas.
optimistic about Texas. I mean, we have no income tax, but there's some other things going on here that are just ridiculous. I've thought about moving to Florida. I mean, but even there's the big cities, there's the small towns, uh, and that's really the divide in America between the big cities and the small towns. So it's
Right. Yes. Yeah. And here in New Hampshire is basically all small towns. I mean, not small, but towns. I mean, it barely. I don't know if you would call. Yeah, I guess you could call Concord a city, but it's not even that big of a city, anyways. It's a small city.
well, Manchester is the only one that has that only has the only commercial airport, for example. So
Yeah.
and the times I've went to any free state events because since I can fly to Boston direct, I usually just fly to Boston direct and drive up because I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to drive either way. And
Hmm.
Manchester would get me an hour closer, but I'd have to change planes, so it's not really
Yes.
any benefit to doing
Yeah.
that.
Because even though it's the only airport, it's a small airport. It's not
Yeah,
not a
so
big one. So yeah, and that brings an advantage in terms of politics for New Hampshire, and that's a good reason why the Free State Project is so successful here. I feel like. Do you know any other movements like this in the U.S.? Maybe it doesn't have to be like the one in New Hampshire, but
well,
what are the biggest states?
you can't have another movement like this in the US. That's the whole point. Uh, we can't, we can't just wave a magic wand and create libertarians. And if there was a second free state project, that would just take a libertarian away from New Hampshire. So
Right.
I mean, we have the Libertarian Party and other things, but the only now there is Monte Libero, which is I don't know how successful it is, but it's a free state project in Montenegro, which I think is a lot of Russians actually.
A lot of Russians.
Yeah, I mean that's in
Interesting.
southeastern Europe or south central
Okay.
Europe. Yeah, so I
Are
think
there Americans there, or is it
I don't know if
mostly
there
just
are any Americans there. I mean, I might consider that though instead of New Hampshire because it's not quite as cold. But that's the biggest obstacle to New Hampshire's success. We don't have any states like New Hampshire that are in the South, but if New Hampshire was not so cold, I think they'd be doing a lot better. But they're already doing pretty well. So yeah,
So you've been thinking about moving there as well to Montenegro?
I've thought about moving to Argentina. I don't. I mean, America still has. I still think America with the culture of the America is still a very anti-male country no matter where you go. So I don't I don't know if I want to live in a country that's just anti-male. I don't think. I mean, do you see that in Argentina? Is it? I mean, I certainly don't. I mean, just how friendly people are, how friendly the women are, for example.
Yeah, I think just the idea of anti something is less
Yeah.
strong than in America. Um, I do think there was a huge feminist push in Argentina, and it did
Yeah.
turn to in certain sectors of that push. There was a lot of anti-male um,
Yeah.
ideas, um, but I think it doesn't translate into Argentine society. I think Argentine society in general just doesn't like hating other people.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
just our
well,
way of being.
the best example, of course, is can you ask, if you're in your workplace, can you ask a woman out for a date? You definitely do not want to do that in America.
Obviously, with caution, with all the caution that you would have with in any other situation, but it would not be frowned upon necessarily. I mean, maybe in some workplaces, and they would be very explicit about it. Maybe some high end places, but then yeah, it's totally normal to meet someone at work, and
Yeah.
I've seen couples created at work that worked out, and that they still work in the same place and still are
Okay.
couples and well known, and it's okay. We did
They
have
they often do, but it's something most American men will just absolutely avoid doing it, because of
Mhm.
the costs and the risks. I mean, when you may, when and this is what throws consent completely out the door when you make it impossible for men to ask, and when you punish men just for asking, that 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 consent is about asking and getting a yes. But then you just say, well, you can't ask at all. It's
Yeah, it's sad because, the idea of wanting another person to have consent to engage in any of these activities is such an obvious and clear idea that should obviously be respected. But since it's been weaponized,
yeah,
now they've put it in now, and they've put it in a position where it can be doubted because it's been weaponized politically. And that's what I've always resented. And I don't like to resent anything, but I have resented that. I've never been against that idea at all. But since it's been weaponized so much, now they just brought down the legitimacy of the idea of consent because they've weaponized it so much. Because there's been so many cases of people that lie to cancel, for example. And that creates tons of problems. It makes it so that people are now starting to doubt that. I mean, I've even heard people say that there should be an age of consent for sexual relations at like 12. And it's like, obviously not. That's insane. But if the movement before us didn't weaponize consent, the idea of consent so much politically, this wouldn't have happened. There would be no discussion around consent. I feel like it's obvious in general. Of course, there's cases where people break that, but I would have easily condemned that with no problem at all. I hate people that libertarian. Like I don't like people that push other people to do things against their will. I think that's terrible, and it's
yeah,
one of the number one things that I condemn. But weaponizing that idea as well and lying about it now generates doubt, and that's
yeah,
I don't know. It's put us in a very weird situation.
yeah. Yeah. Well, if all men are rapists, no men are rapists. I mean, that's kind of how it is. It's
That's exactly
because the whole
exactly.
because they basically the term has lost meaning, and of course, a lot of American women do believe that all men are rapists and that everything is rape. I don't
Mm.
see that happening down, and I don't really see that happening in South America, which is why I appreciate it. But it doesn't happen in a lot of places. It's not that way with Russian women either. It's a although I will say, Argentina's birth rates aren't much better. I mean, they're not really having a lot of kids too either.
No, 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 no. We definitely have a problem with that. I think it's yes, the whole Western front of this world is having a trouble with that. Um, to me, it smells like foreign influence to me. I don't have necessarily a direct correlation to make. It smells like it just because it's such a bad thing in terms of government, such a bad thing to happen to a country. It breaks your economy so fast, and it can break your political system so fast, make you prone to invasions. I mean, there's tons of it creates tons of problems. Um, and a lot of it is just this the weaponization of sexual relations does that creates that same problem. Now people are afraid of it. Now a lot of men, the whole incel movement is afraid of it because they don't want to get caught um in that cancellation issue.
Yeah,
Now it's disappearing, but and that being afraid of it creates that now they have no experience with it, and now they start justifying themselves because they have shame and saying that it's okay not to do it. And now we have no birth rates because we have a bunch of men that don't even care about it anymore. They're like, I'm not even going to try anymore because it's not worth it. And now we don't have children anymore. And I mean, there's, I don't see how a government could think that that is something good for their, even if they're thinking just self interest ways. I don't see how they could think, okay, I should do this because it'll help me get elected again or something. Even that, it's just I don't know. It's to me, it smells like foreign influence at that point.
I don't know if there's foreign influence, but there's definitely purposes to drive wedges because I the worst thing about do you want to when you're dying, do you wanna have a bunch of people around you, or do you just wanna be by yourself, you know? I mean, I'm hearing that in Japan, they have these special house cleaners, and they'll go into homes where people died and weren't discovered for maybe a week, and it's you know, the body started decomposing, and if you can imagine, that's kinda gross. It's not a cleaning job I would wanna do, and so that's what and they're doing that, so it's just I mean, it's
It's
just you don't wanna you know, you don't wanna be all alone. I mean, as I say, because you're going to need somebody to be there for you in the future. It's so
Yeah. The good thing is, I can say from my perspective that my generation, my age range, so like 20 to 22, but especially the ones younger, are, I think, starting to revive the idea of wanting to have a family, of how much value that brings, not only to society, but much more in terms of how much value it brings to one's personal life and how important it is and how much happiness it can bring to your life to do that and to put effort and sacrifice other things in favor of doing that and actually having kids and actually having a stable household or trying to at least
yeah.
so I do see some hope in the future. I do feel like it's turning around. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I do feel like kids have done a 180 almost. And I mean, obviously, you still see a bunch of kids that are on the other side, but it's eh, as years go by, the more I look down, the more extreme they are in terms of this idea of family. More, maybe you can like synthesize it into
Yeah.
like a more conservative idea.
Yeah, you know, there's something else too is I wanna bring up about life in South America or life in Argentina is, you know, more and more you see in America this whole crazy thing that kids should not be left alone or kids should not do things alone. I mean, when I was 7 years old, I went to the library by myself. I'd go to the post office to buy stamps, and I would walk alone. And now in America, there's this app too. Well, kids shouldn't be, you know, alone at that age or be unsupervised. I even is it that way in Argentina, or is it still sensible down there?
Um, it is getting worse. It definitely has changed. A crime in Argentina
I'm not talking
have
about
gotten a lot.
crime. Yeah,
No, not necessarily crime, but, I think that's the just usually what people justify it with. They say, "Well, the crime is a lot worse now than what it was before." Argentina, it's not real. I mean, not really. It's well, especially in the city of Buenos Aires. I should actually make that differentiation. Um, in the city of Buenos Aires, it's not like that, and still, you do see this culture of helicoptering your kids,
yeah,
which just, I mean, destroys their idea of being able to do things on their own. Destroys their idea of I can just go out and accomplish this small task. It's a small
yeah,
task, like going to get stamps, for example. I can accomplish this on my own. No, 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 no. You can't do this. It's too dangerous. You're gonna get lost. You're gonna get kidnapped. You're gonna get whatever. It's instead of it's an idea of, okay, I want to go do this. And then your parents instill the idea in your head of, no, you shouldn't go do it because you have to fear it. And before you do anything, you have to make sure you have all the preventative measures in place so that that fear cannot come true. Um, the aversion the aversion to risk in society is very high right now. It's everyone's very scared. I feel like a lot of people have fear of any type of risk, even if it's a low
yeah.
risk situation. And I think that's very damaging, because obviously with low risk decisions comes lesser results in general.
And so and so, for example, you know, parents let their 10-year-old walk to the store. 10-year-old gets hit by a car, killed. District attorney charges the parents with neglect or something like that. Would that happen in Argentina?
Mm, nowadays, probably yes.
Oh my
If it went public, probably yes. At 10, yes. Maybe for like if you pay after 13, maybe not.
God. Jeez.
But I don't know. Maybe if if it didn't go public, I think there's less of a chance. There's a lot of that in Argentina where if stuff doesn't go public, then usually judges are less strict, or or at least if they don't feel the pressure, they try to solve it more like a mediator rather than a judge. It's not always like that, but in this type of case where it's very controversial, um, and but if it goes public, then probably yeah,
When you say go public, it just
media
end up
attention,
on the news or
yeah, media attention, social media
so
attention.
so 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 geez, I guess I you kinda just sunk my desire to move there. Seriously.
um,
I
mm,
don't think you'll see that in Peru because I mean, you'll see kids rowing canoes on big rivers at 6 years old. It's yeah, I don't know how you expect people to be adults, and I don't know how you expect to foster a healthy culture, but that's what I wanted to ask, you know?
well, that's a big point though.
Yeah.
There's a big difference in Argentina as well on whether you're in the city or if you're in a more like your agricultural area or more like in the south and like say with fishing as well. Uh, it is treated very differently there, very differently. There's a stark cultural difference between the city, where I think you would get almost certainly if it got attention, you would get as a parent penalized. Um, and I think and maybe in the field, that wouldn't happen, especially because the judges there, understand the context a lot more, and usually it doesn't get that much attention anyways. Um, I think it would be a lot more lenient there outside of the city, but if you're gonna be in Buenos Aires, then probably, yeah. You wouldn't like that.
Yeah. Well, and also just stuff like, you'll see I don't know, for example, if there are any child labor laws in Mexico, so you might see 12-year-old kids, doing construction work and stuff like that, but I don't know what it's like in Argentina. It sounds like I mean, if Argentina is more European, it could be more European in the bad ways because I absolutely think kids should be allowed to work. What do you say about that?
I think you're allowed to work at 14, 15 if you
Yeah.
want to. It's not the most common thing. I think it's just culturally not a thing. I think if you wanted to do it, it can be done. Um, Usually you don't work until you're in college. Maybe it's just because my group of people doesn't work before the people I grew up around didn't do it, and maybe it's different in different situations. Definitely, it is different when it's lower class, but I don't think that'll be your situation in Argentina. But when it's low class, yeah, definitely you'll see
Yeah.
underage working for sure. And I do think that too. As long as it's not an abusive situation, I think it's totally fine. I mean, I don't think any Argentine will be against that. I mean, I'd say
Yeah.
there's a lot of hard workers down there that would really be for your position of, yeah, just let them work. I mean, obviously not an
Well,
abuse, like, don't. You know.
certainly you can have 10 or 11-year-old kids making coffee in the office and going to the copier to make copies and stuff like that. It's I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm glad I mean, where I'm from, you had where I'm from, 120 years ago, you had kids that size working in the coal mines, which I really don't really want to see that happen. But it's just one of those things you let when you let things organically happen. I mean,
Yeah.
interesting enough, they did just lower the age of. I guess they're in the process of lowering the age of criminal responsibility in Argentina. What do you say about that?
Well, it's been one of those issues where I don't think people wanted to see that happen just because there is a strong idea of protecting minors and how they're not making very rational decisions because of their brain development and etc. But I there has that's been abused so much. It's happened to me. I've been I've had 2 attempts of muggings by kids that are underage. In one of them, they just escaped, and in the second one, I did get the police to catch them. But the police themselves told me, "Look, I mean, here's the decision you have to make. You can either come with us to the police office and fill out like your report and tell us what happened and stuff. And all we're going to be able to do with these kids is keep them in jail until their parents come pick them up. And that's all we can do. And you can either do that or just leave and we have to let them go. And I was like, wow. I mean, sure, that's what the law says. And the police are following the law. It's not.
Yeah.
But I can assure you that policeman was not happy having to say that. And I can notice because of his voice. But that happens so often that at this point it's like, okay, I mean, I don't really have a
Yeah.
choice. We don't want to do it, but we don't have a choice.
I might lower it to 16 before I go to 14, but I get the from what I hear though, I get it too. And you know, you don't have a and this is another thing too, is do you think you could ever get a pro gun culture down there?
It's a push right now. It's something that they're pushing. Libertarians are definitely pro gun and they've shown that openly, made it part of the campaign and everything, part of the campaign promises. Um, I think there used to be a total fear of it, at least during my generations. I can't speak about before because we did have a military dictatorship, so I'm sure that there was a different gun culture back then. But during my lifetime, at least, the level of fear of guns was extreme. Guns, just seeing a gun for a person would be wow, like what's going on? Like, whoa, get that away from me, kind of thing. It's like crazy, like a very strong fear of it. My girlfriend, she used to have that kind of fear, and it's not. She doesn't try to. She's not politically inclined to go against guns. She just had that fear because that's what her mom or her dad had. And we brought her up here to New Hampshire, and well, got her, did the tour and showed her how to securely handle it, and got her to shoot, and she did really well. She's a good shot naturally, and now she loves it. She thinks it's great and that it should be legal. It's a thing of just taking that fear away from people. So I think Malay and their campaign right now are mostly trying to show it to people, to get it in front of their eyes more and more, to start bringing that fear down. Um, and maybe slowly we'll get a gun culture, but for now it's far away.
Well, if you want to reduce serious crime, that's the most effective way to do it.
Absolutely, and that's Malay's argument.
I'm glad.
That's Malay's argument.
I've heard
Yep.
Johannes Kaiser say that too. It's funny
Oh,
how
look at New Hampshire.
it ends up being a polite society. Yes, look in New Hampshire. Yeah. So, uh, what else do you think makes Milei so popular with young Argentines?
What else? Um, well, I think, um, I think there was, especially, yeah, I think there was an aesthetic thing. So just to talk about it, it's not necessarily a main characteristic, but it is an interesting one. And it's something new that Malay brought to the table in the world, which is saying that our movement is also aesthetically superior, which is interesting. Um, it's because not I don't think it's so much like in a more fascist sense of we're gonna have this aesthetic that is better than everyone else, and we're gonna have this hegemony in terms of our ethnicity over everyone else, just because Argentina is very diverse in terms of ethnicity as well, so it wouldn't even make sense. But it is more in terms of, look, we're done with this idea of we don't care at all about how we look. We don't care at all if we smell bad. We don't care at all. That's kind of what the left brought to the table of leave me alone. I can do whatever I want with, like, it's not, look, if you can participate in society, we have expectations. And sure, you can do whatever you want. We're not going to force you to do anything, but we want a culture that has an idea of we want to look good. We want Argentina to be a nice place for people to visit. And when they get out of the airport, they're like, "Oh, look at these beautiful people here. How well they dress. How they take care of themselves. How they." And I think that's ingrained in Argentine culture, and it's been turned off for a while, for 15, 20 years, because of this whole LGBT and everything push. That's been terrible in that sense.
Yes.
And I think it's been turned back on now, and Argentines naturally stick to it. And I think young people, especially because we're more superficial by nature as well, especially kids in high school and stuff. I can see it in my brother. Just more superficial. So that superficiality part of it, um, which sure, it's not great to be superficial, but it matters in the end. I mean, I think beautiful architecture in the streets brings your energy up when you're on the street. I think it gives you a sense of that this place is the place that I like
Yeah.
to be in. This place is that architecture shows what I value, shows that I value a beautiful world, that I value a world that gives me pleasure to look at. It's that basic. Again, it's not a main thing, but it's something that to me culturally really impacts young people.
Being around beauty makes a difference. I mean, sometimes I think I'm just happier, when I'm around beautiful mountains or beautiful buildings. And Buenos Aires is such a beautiful city. Where, I didn't ask, did you live in Buenos Aires or did you live somewhere else, or where have you lived?
I live in Buenos Aires currently. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, yep, yep. I love it. Best city in the world.
It really does seem like a very livable city for as big as it is. And you know what's wild too is, does the airport really seem like it's a big city airport? I mean, you've probably been to some of the big airports in America, and they seem like they're a lot crazier and of course Buenos Aires has too. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it definitely compared to American airports, it feels small for the size of the city because it's a huge city. Um, but at the same time, there's one thing that happens in Argentina, which is we just in general don't have as much air traffic as
yes.
America has. Because the only huge city is Buenos Aires, which is kind of just to have a comparison, it's about the size of Chicago. Um, and so Chicago, sure, is very big. But the reason why it has two airports and the size that they are is because they have flights coming in from Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Philadelphia, like tons of big cities that we just don't have in Argentina, and it doesn't justify. We just don't have that many planes. Although it would be great to have them because it's a huge country and trains just don't work. I really don't like the idea that people are coming out and saying that right now of like America is behind Europe in terms of transportation because we don't have good trains. So, well, of course, we're about the size of Europe. We're about the size of Europe and just landmass. How do you expect us to build the same train system as countries that are the size of one state? It's like, how do you expect that to happen? You have 80 million people in Germany, which is about the size of what? Of Oregon. It's about the size of Oregon. Yeah, of course you're going to have a very complex train system inside the state. In America, you need planes because you have to move from one side of the country to the other. That's just how it works. And in Argentina, we have the same issue. Um, yeah. So uh, I do think it's small, the airport for Buenos Aires. But they've recently constructed a new terminal, which is very beautiful. And I think you go in there and yeah, you look at it and you're like, okay, this is an important city. It's not a second-rate city. So I think that was a big improvement. And then I don't know, just Buenos Aires in general. There's something about it which usually people can't explain, and maybe you can explain it to me because you've been there. It's something that just captivates people and makes them wanna not just wanna go back, but also move there. Just this energy, it feels like it really usually is hard for people to explain, but I like to hear your perspective.
I think there's definitely something about that. It just seems like there's a lot of beautiful places. I mean, I managed to get a rogue Cabify driver on my drive to the airport, and I had plenty of time. But for whatever reason, he took me into the bad neighborhoods. I'm like, why are you doing
Oof.
that? Well, the other thing too was the ride ended up being a half hour, 45 minutes longer than it should have been.
That's very weird.
I don't know what in the world he did. Yeah, I reported him. There was even a situation literally where he went around an entire cloverleaf and just and you can see it on the map and I complained to Cabify about it just to let him know. And they were actually very responsive. said, "Can you look into this and see why this guy did this?" But because there are that's something we should probably put a warning for. What areas of Buenos Aires should you absolutely positively avoid?
Well, first of all, it's a good principle to stay in the city. Don't go outside because what you saw was most definitely it could be part of the city, but what you probably saw was just the outskirts of the city,
Yep.
not the city itself.
Yeah.
Although there are bad areas in the city, in general, as a main principle, if you stay inside the city, you'll be fine. There are some areas like if you get closer to the south, especially the southwest of the city, um, it starts getting worse. It's not horrible. It won't be automatic, but
Yeah.
I think anyone that has any kind of street smarts, any kind of I've lived in a city for more than 2 weeks, you start seeing how the terrain starts changing and how houses start getting a lot worse and how people look at you weird. That's when you should probably just turn around and go some other way. Now, stay in the city. There are some places
Yeah.
outside the city that are nice, but just if you're going to go outside the city, go to the designated places that you know you have to go to. Like, don't go randomly outside the city because then you could get in trouble. It's not like
Yeah.
a Mexico situation where you're going to get automatically kidnapped, or that's what the feeling I get in Mexico. At least it's like it feels like if I make a mistake, automatically kidnapped, maybe killed by. And
Well,
that's the feeling that they transmit to me, Mexicans. It's like,
well,
look, don't. I mean, I know Mexicans that would have to take different paths, different random paths every day back from school to their home just because of fear of kidnapping. That has never heard that in Argentina.
well,
I've never heard of it.
I'm just saying, also, just the whole, picking Airbnbs. Uh, I've managed to hit a few not so nice neighborhoods with Airbnbs, and there's never any mention of this in the reviews. But
Hmm,
what part of
that's interesting.
parts of town, and I always, and I do find it annoying too, because I always ask people, what should I avoid? And I didn't ask you to tell me where to go. I just said, what should I avoid? And then I'll go from there. But anyway, it's you do have to be careful because you can't necessarily change your Airbnb, but it all
It's
depends.
like any city, though, I feel like, especially I've been visiting cities here in the US, and I have the same fear that I have in Argentina of making a wrong turn. I don't, in Buenos Aires, in terms of safety, we rate very high right now. I think we're 1 or 2 or maybe 3 in Latin America in safety.
Yeah, but any town that size is gonna have its places you don't wanna go to.
Exactly. I mean, we have a lower homicide rate than New York, a lower crime rate than New York, lower it's like but
I'm not disputing that, but there still are, yeah. I mean, I hear about Rosario. I've been to Cordoba and I've been to Mendoza, and they seem pretty nice too, so it's
yes, those are beautiful.
there's little things you have to look out for. I mean, you learn how to shop for Airbnbs after a while too, just
Yeah, I
yes.
recently made a mistake in Boston as well. Just, Airbnb
I will say one area too. The area around Edo Park isn't that nice in Buenos
around what? Sorry?
Aires. Edo Park, the
Aero
other
Park.
airport, the other airport.
Oh, Aero Park. Okay, yeah, yeah,
Edo Park, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it really depends where you go, but it is true that you're one turn away from being in a bad area.
And area
Um,
that's one of those things that's kind of a general rule. Areas around airports, because nobody wants to live around an airport.
exactly.
That and of
Exactly.
course also you be aware flood zones. Another thing, the flood zones, the places that get flooded. That's another thing you definitely be sure about avoiding. Because
Yeah, in the city, in
oh yeah,
Buenos Aires at least, that's been mostly solved. Barely gets flooded at all. It used to be a big problem, but we at some point had a mayor that took care of it. And mostly, I don't like that he was president afterwards. Macri, you know him probably. And yeah, and he solved that problem at least. Mostly. I mean, I'm sure it still gets flooded in some areas but it used to be a huge issue and now it's not anymore.
yeah. Have you visited other countries in South America or not?
I visited Uruguay. Um And I don't know. I don't think I've been to other. No, I have not. I mean, I've been in Mexico, but that's not South. That's Latin.
Yeah.
So yeah, just Uruguay. Uruguay is basically they would kill me for saying this, but I'd say they're a copy of Argentina, a small scale copy of Argentina that has more lenient laws and a smaller population.
Yeah.
And they consume our culture. They speak the way we speak. I mean, their TV is they watch our TV. They don't watch their own. They have some of their TV, but they mostly watch our TV because they're so close. We used to be part of the same territory, the same culture, and they eventually at some point separated.
Yeah, the
But
flags have blue and white and the sun, so yeah.
yeah,
All that different
yeah,
arrangement, yes, it's,
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, I took the boat I visited Montevideo once, I took the boat ride over, so yeah,
It's nice. It's nice. It's a nice
yeah,
city. To me, it has less energy. It's more calm.
yeah,
Uruguay in general is more calm.
yeah.
Um, I
It seems
recommend
like
going to Punta del Este.
very quiet,
It's
yeah.
beautiful.
What?
What again?
Where'd you go?
Punta del Este, I recommend.
Montevideo,
It's
yes, Point of the East, yes.
beautiful.
Yeah, it seems
Mhm,
nice, yeah. Yeah, Montevideo seemed like just a really quiet town, I mean, it's
yeah.
really in some ways, it's really got this small town feeling about it, although it's obviously not a small town.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, it's they have 3 million people total in the whole country. So, I don't know exactly what the population of Montevideo is, but it's definitely not gonna be big since, I mean, we in Buenos Aires, we have 3 million people only in Buenos Aires. So, it's a different feeling totally. But if you like the calmness of it, they do have good laws for at least not being as scared of taxes and your money getting embezzled like it could
That was
happen in Argentina.
that was probably also the best place to be in South America during 2020.
Yes. Yes. And a lot of Argentines moved there temporarily
Yeah.
during COVID.
Where else have you
Yeah.
been in Argentina?
Well, I've been to Mendoza, I've been to Cordoba, I've been in the south, I've been in Misiones. I think that what's very interesting about Argentina outside of the city, which I can speak about the city all day, but is that like America, it has tons of places that are different that you can visit. It has, the South, which is more wintry, and you get your mountains where you can ski, and more of like I compare it to the West, like the Rockies and in the U.S., smaller scale, obviously, and less resources to build like terrain for skiing and stuff. Then you can go more south, and you get to be at a glacier, which is obviously a very cool experience.
Yeah.
You can go up northeast and go to Misiones, and there you have the Iguazu waterfalls, which are, I believe, one of the seven natural wonders of the world. I think they are the biggest, the
Oh, yes.
waterfalls with the most amount of volume of water going through them in the world.
Yeah,
Um,
amazing from pictures I've seen. And it's kind of where Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina meet, so
exactly. Yeah, the triple frontier. And yeah, that Mendoza, obviously, especially for tourists, that's usually is the full package of what they're looking for. You have the mountains, you have beautiful vineyards because obviously our wine is well known, and you can eat really good meat out there as
yeah.
well, and it's prepared for tourists, and the views are just amazing.
Yeah, Mendoza's
Um,
basically right there on the mountains, they just they're so I think you can even see Aconcagua from Mendoza, so, yeah, if you back up a bit,
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and if you like that, if you like more of a if someone likes climbing, it's a
yeah.
great place to climb. We have very tall mountains, a lot of extreme sports. My
Yeah,
dad, when he lived there, did a lot of extreme sports.
yeah.
It's great.
Well, highest mountains outside of Asia, yeah,
Yep, Aconcagua, that's it.
yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
yeah, you didn't
So
mention skiing, yeah, you think what do you think will be the first South American country to get a medal at the Winter Olympics? Because I don't think any South American country ever has gotten a medal at the Winter Olympics.
well, it could only be Chile or Argentina. So I would vouch for Argentina just because we're better at everything than Chile. No, yeah, no. that it had to be one of those because we're the only ones that actually have mountains to do it. So, I mean, you could go to Peru and it's not the same. It's a lot hotter and it just don't not ingrained into our culture.
They're hotter places, yeah, they got high mountains in Bolivia, but yeah, too, you get on south, it does get a little cooler there. Last time I was in Santiago, it was actually pretty cool all around. It's,
That's very cool. Yeah, I want to visit Chile as well. Although we have a big rivalry with them in general. Um, but yeah, it's it's a great country. It really
it
is.
it'd be actually cool to make it a road trip too, like, maybe actually drive from Mendoza to Santiago, especially since the plane ride is horrible.
Oh, was it? Did you make it?
Well, it's a quickie it's quickie, but because you're going over these enormous mountains, it's just really turbulent. And I guess it's always that way when you go over those mountains. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, that makes sense.
when I had the flight from DFW all the way to Buenos Aires, and you're at that cruising altitude, but then the pilot said, "Okay, I'm going to turn on the seatbelt sign because we're going to go over the Andes," and he just did it for we didn't really have any turbulence, but he's actually expecting it. Mountainous areas. I heard the same thing too when I was flying back from South Korea, and the lady said to me, she says, "It's always like this when we go over Japan."
Mm,
It's also very
right,
mountainous place, yeah. So just
right.
way various wind currents happen, and it's a very flying is a very vital skill.
Yes,
Really
yes, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I wish Argentina had more infrastructure in terms of flights and in terms of but our big one of our biggest problems is that we have just a lot of the country we failed to put enough people in it, which is the US has done well. We don't have enough people in the rest of the country. It's all concentrated in Buenos Aires, it feels like. And Peronism did a did a lot of damage in terms of that as well because they made them move into the city and now although they eventually also had the policy of wanting people uh, to populate these unpopulated areas, they had a big push towards that, and they
mm,
even thought about changing the capital and stuff. It's it's a big issue that they created in the beginning to me for me because they made people move into the big cities
yeah,
when what we needed was the contrary. Of course, we hadn't developed it yet, but
yeah.
we did not need people to move into the big cities. We need more people all around Patagonia region and the north as well. It's something that U.S. has done really well. We need bigger cities in different places in the country.
Oh, yeah, after I actually did go down to Chihuahua last time. I realized though, it's just very hard to live in a place like that when you're so far away from everything, and it just makes it things get more expensive and stuff like that. It's harder to get
Exactly.
harder to get, auto parts or get food, but yeah, it just makes it. Yeah,
Yeah, and
I'm surprised considering how artistic, Buenos Aires is. I'm surprised you haven't produced a good figure skater out of Argentina too, thinking about the Olympics. Yeah,
oh, I have no idea. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know.
but you probably
Hmm,
got some skating somewhere, and skating, of course, since it's always inside, well, it's not always inside, but it's often inside. You don't have to, you can do it in the middle of summer anyway, but
yeah,
skiing,
I've done it in the middle of summer in Argentina.
yeah, so
Hmm.
if you love, what other sports do they love there besides soccer or
Well,
football?
yeah, that's the main one for sure. I mean, it takes over most of the sports
Well,
demands. It's not like it's divided as much as it is here in the US. That's the main one. That's what everyone talks about. After that, you have especially women play a lot of field hockey, and we're great at that. We're a powerhouse in the field hockey for
Conrad's was a
women.
field hockey goalie, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. And yeah, we're a powerhouse. We've won multiple World Cups. I think. Yeah, I understand that we have. Yeah, but we are also always contenders. Um, we're for men. Rugby is big. Um, and we're not top of the line in rugby, but we're kind of we're good. I mean, I think we're part of the rugby scene. We're considered part of the rugby scene, and we've been getting better and better lately. And it's definitely something that's played a lot in Argentina. Um, And then I have to mention handball, European handball, which is what I played, um, which is not as big as the other three sports that I mentioned, but for some reason, it is a very convenient sport for the schools to have. And so you'll see it a lot in schools. So it's played by a lot of people unprofessionally. I ended up playing in more, not professionally, but more seriously in a club. And that's a pretty big sport in Argentina. A lot of people play that.
Yeah.
After the other three that I mentioned, obviously.
And of course, I did just remember too, Argentina is also the home of Manu Ginobili.
Yes, yes.
Basketball.
Basketball
Yeah.
is definitely there, and it is bigger than handball actually. And but yeah, it's definitely way like further away than rugby, further down on the list than rugby is from soccer. This basketball is fairly rare. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, but but basketball's pretty much become a worldwide sport too, though.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah,
And we love Manu. We love Manu. Everyone does.
yeah, I think they do. It seems as though an athlete who makes it in America does get pretty popular. Yeah,
Yeah, especially if it's basketball we're talking about. Yeah, it's the main country to do it for sure.
yeah. Well, that's where they
Yeah,
make the most money. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And I don't know. It's starting. Europeans are starting to contend the U.S. for having the best players. They're starting to get competitive. It looks like I've heard that basketball players in Europe are taking over the NBA almost. At least the main players, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I heard.
they definitely are. I mean, there's a lot. And the National Basketball Association has really become a very worldwide league. I would say the National Hockey League up here has too, but it's got a lot more Europeans. And of course, it still has more Canadians than Americans. Because hockey is just what they do up north. And of course,
Mhm.
she's past her prime now, but I always remembered how beautiful Gabriella Sabatini was, or still is. The tennis player.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's one thing we are known for. Is just we have beautiful people down there.
Yeah,
Um, it's call me whatever you want, but it changes your day to day. It definitely does. I've lived here. I've not lived, but I've spent a good amount of time here in New Hampshire, and I notice the difference. I definitely do on my day to day. It
yeah.
makes a difference. Both for men and women. I think it's not only a man thing. Yeah.
The mountains in New Hampshire are also very different. People don't realize the overall Appalachians are actually very, very old because because as mountains get older, they get more rounded, and young, newer mountains are, they're more like, sharp peaks.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
just how it happens.
I didn't know they were sharper piece here.
They're not really
You mean
sharp.
older
New Hampshire's part of the Appalachian region, the Appalachian region.
Oh, right, I get where you're going, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been skiing out here, and it's fine. It's fine. It's good enough where I'm having fun, especially with the snow that we got lately.
Oh, I assume you probably don't want to travel with skis. That's got to be a pain. So you probably just rented some. Yeah.
I did, yeah, I did. I was gonna go to Utah, and I ended up having to cancel this year because of the terrible snow over there, and I actually ended up skiing here in New Hampshire, which is you would say that's crazy, but this year I had better conditions that they had over there.
There are mountains in New Hampshire.
Yeah. Yeah, but compared to Utah, I don't know. I mean, Utah is pretty insane.
Yeah. I don't know how far people go down. Not any. And of course, there's some people like to snowboard too. I guess one thing is snowboarding is actually cheaper. So
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, I never been close to snowboarding. It's not for some reason, I've always been a just hardcore ski person, not
yeah,
pro snowboarding, and I've been really pushing my brother towards skiing instead of snowboarding, although he says that snowboarding looks cooler, and I'm like, "Okay, but that doesn't matter. You don't wanna be a snowboarder." And it's like, "Alright." It's a
I think you
fun
can
thing to
show off
do.
more with snowboarding, and there's other things too to kind of fun. You can do like tricks with snowboarding, but yeah, it's definitely changed. Yes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's great.
I don't know either too, that and I don't know which is safer or less likely to be injury. I think one thing, at least on a snowboard, both your feet are on the board, so if you fall down, it usually doesn't look like a very bad fall, but a lot of the falls on skis always look bad.
Yes, because especially because you see the skis fly off uh, and all the I think you tumble a lot more on skis because it's just once you lose your skis, you're moving.
Or maybe you're going fast.
Um, yeah, oh, that's true as well. You do go faster.
Do you have
Yeah,
any
and you also
ideas?
hmm?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you have any ideas of what's going to come after Milei or who comes after Milei?
I don't think there is an idea of who comes after Milei. I don't think there is. I
Sounds
think
like
the idea is that he stays.
Oh, can he be president forever?
Not yet,
Or I thought he only
not
had
yet.
2 terms.
He does, but
Then
I don't
then
know. If he keeps doing this well, I think, especially in their second term, they're going to make a push to try to keep him longer.
or who could replace him in the party, so
Yeah, and if that does get defined, it will be in the second term. But for now, and I think this has to be on purpose in part. For now, it's not something that ever comes into discussion, and no one can take that role at all because automatically Malay is very strict on that part, and his party members are as well. And I think it's a good thing. There's no internally he's the leader, and there's no discussion about it. And I think that's good because I don't think there's anyone else out there that is as libertarian as he is that
but
wants to be in power. So I want him to be there.
but Milei is going to inspire people to read books. He's gonna get people to read the books. We're gonna have little Mileis or younger Mileis. It's
Yes.
a matter of
Yes.
time, and we need them. We can't put all of our eggs into this basket.
No, 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 no.
Yeah, we've gotta have other people who can do the work, and I
Yes.
wonder, too, if it's even having teenagers or even these, you like I said, you would see, like, 9 and 10-year-old boys, outside his limo screaming, "Milei, Milei." If they're going to go pick up one of these economics books and because they wanna be cool and be like Javier Milei, he really is doing the philosophical re-education that Ayn Rand talked about.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
That's
Yes.
what
Yes,
he
he is, and, um, and kids are picking up those economics books. People my age are doing it as well. He's turned a show phenomenon of something of show in social media and in just media in general into something intellectual at the same time, which is rare. Um, and and it happens to be libertarianism, and that's a great thing. And I think libertarianism as a movement in general is favors intellectualism a lot, anyways. I see it here in New Hampshire as well. Most people that I know that are libertarian usually uh, have, you know, have a will to learn that a lot of other people don't have. So I do think that that helps as well with kids getting educated in the libertarian ways.
Yeah, certainly. It sounds like and as you pointed out, even women, I expect even girls have stage, "Oh, Milei is so hot, I just wanna."
No, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But um, but I don't think that's the role he wants to take. Anyways, I don't know if that's the role he wants to
Well,
take.
it helps, it still helps get the message out.
That's true. That's
Sometimes it gets out for superficial reasons.
hmm
Well, this has been a great talk, Luca.
Oh, it's been great.
Else more to say? Do you have anything else to say before we go?
No, well, I do want to mention that that I got to know all these things, and I got to be able to have these conversations and get close to Malay and get close to politics in Argentina because I got involved. I got involved in my college. I got involved pushing the ideas, pushing culture, thinking about how we can push it in culture and how we can impress young adults and people younger or even older. But colleges are a great place to move ideas. And I got involved through a amazing groups of people that are out there. You just have to look for them. Mine is my group of people is called Menem. It's a fun name that we have for our party at college. We took over the college student council, which had been lefty for about 5, 6, 7 years, and we were able to take it over. Our party's still there. Is still there and still pushing those ideas. Very close to Milei, and I think that if anyone listens to this that is my age, I think that it's the key if you really want to live a life according to your values is to get involved with those values and in how to spread them around. That's maybe to close with something.
Yeah, we have to fix the colleges, and if you're actually going to fix the colleges, that would be a miracle, because they're the ones who did all this. And any successful libertarian movement is going to have to be a youth movement. It's not going to work otherwise. I mean, just
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
and I don't know. There's a lot of things. I've said in America, I said we need to get rid of the porcupine and replace it with a lion.
Right. Right. I think that's a great way to put it in one sentence.
And as I've said also, we're not classical liberals, we are rock star liberals.
Right. And it's not because we don't like the porcupine. The porcupine is great. It has great ideas. The problem is that for it to expand, it has to be different. There's no.
When people see a lion, they think of Aslan, or they think of something mighty and powerful. They see, the porcupine. Yeah, I don't know where. Well, we all have our. I don't know if you'll be up there for Pork Fest. That will be an interesting experience. But yeah, there's certainly other.
Probably will. And thank you very much, Chris, for giving me this opportunity.
I guess
it was great.
You're on Twitter, but that's about it, right?
Yeah, and I've been pretty private with my social media for a while now. It's I don't. It's a competition for attention, and I've been pretty chill with it ever since I noticed that.
I like to get attention. I like to get my message out.
That's good.
And I still wonder, does Javier Milei know about this show? That's the big question about it. I hope he does.
I have no idea. He probably. I mean, I'm sure he probably does. If you're on social media, he probably does. I mean, he knows everything. Everyone there.
He's not following me yet, but we'll see. So, anyway, please like the show, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, check out my Substack, go buy my novel Escape from the Village, and people are giving me money at buymeacoffee.com. Thank you, Luca Burton. I'm Chris Baker. We're out.
Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you.